Good evening. Welcome into Apex News Above the Noise on this good Friday afternoon. I am Kyle Thompson.
And I'm Craig Blanton.
Craig, it is good to see you, my friend. Have you had a good week?
Oh, I had a great week. Been a beautiful week, low humidity. Been able to get a lot of yard work done, messing with the rugrats today. So it's been a lot of fun.
You sent me a couple pictures of them getting under your skin a little bit with some pranks that they had going on.
A couple of days ago, all of a sudden, we started hearing a cricket right outside of my office down in the basement. So looked for it, couldn't find it. So when the grandkids came over today, I enlisted them with 3 little handheld vacuum cleaners to track that cricket down. Well, they found it, and it was a mechanical cricket.
It's a field cricket.
Little circuit board that made all kinds of different cricket sounds, and I can only assume my adult children.
Your adult children did it too.
My adult children that are holding big jobs.
That's right.
Hid this in the blanket box we got in here behind my recliner in front of the big TV, and they tracked it down, and so now payback's going to be a you know what.
Oh, that's good. That's a good way to start the day. Well,
it's a good prank.
It is good on them, by the way, for getting on you. We've got a big show lined up today. We're kicking things off with some genuinely surprising economic news that are coming in, but we have late breaking news that is coming across the wire right now. A Jefferson County Family Court judge has issued a warrant for Governor Matt Bevin this afternoon. This all stems from a family court case involving child support for one of his adopted
21-year-old son.
Yeah. And for months now, we reported on this back in March that they were going back and forth with the judge about whether he was going to comply with the orders and things of that nature. And apparently this afternoon, the judge had simply had enough. Last week, it was reported that Matt Bevin did not show up in person, even though he was ordered to show up in person. And then this morning they had a hearing again. He showed up again on Zoom, asked for more time to prepare the documents. And I think the judge just had enough of all the shenanigans. And now there is an active bench warrant, an arrest warrant for former Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin to be arrested if he is found at any point. So, Craig, your thoughts on this, on a former governor having an arrest warrant issued this afternoon?
And he, not to throw Da Vinci's in there again, but why not? He brought his 9.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Da Vinci's Pizza.
He brought his 9 kids. He's got, I think, 5 natural and 4 adopted up to the restaurant a few times when he was governor. This is the governor that we're talking about. He's a millionaire. And they have been giving him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to provide the financial records for his 21-year-old adopted son. Because his son wants child support. And I don't know why a 21-year-old needs child support. Maybe there's some mental issues or something like that. I have no clue. But why would a 21-year-old child, legal adult, need child support from his parents?
Well, only if there was some special circumstance surrounding it. But even if he's not entitled to it, a lot of times you're able to go through the discovery process to see if there's even aspects of, there could have been, trusts held in his name that he wants access to. There could be, other assets that he may be a beneficiary of or something of that nature. There are a whole host of reasons I assume that he could be asking for this. The court and the news has been significantly vague on why this has even gotten this far with regard to the records and who's allowed to get support and things like that. But this is a very odd scenario. And what's even odder is that he's allowed it to get this far. And I think that's the real shocking part about this.
But with a trust, I've dealt with some trusts within my family, been like the trustee on them. And if it says you can't draw the money out till you're 25, there's no legal way around that, is there? Regardless of your circumstances, because I'm telling you, they watched that money like a hawk, like it was theirs. And something didn't meet the criteria, they would deny the expense that you were trying to run back on it.
Yeah. I will say that, this is a civil contempt motion. This is from WHAS. It says Bevin's attorney submitted more than 40 documents prior to the deadline and filed an emergency motion asking for the deadline to be extended to June 15th. The judge denied his request, saying that the motion was filed minutes before the deadline, according to the court records. And the court finds the motion to be untimely, although that would be weird. He is aware of the deadline on May 29th, 2026, and waited until the deadline had arrived to inform the court he did not intend to comply in a timely manner. Supplemental motion for judicial direction, which is expected to be heard in court on June 15th. Bevin's attorneys argued the judge didn't specify what documents Bevin needed to turn over by the Friday deadline. It remains undetermined how the court will know whether Matt has met this requirement without any built-in review time or analysis, his attorney said. He'd had multiple other arrest warrants issued and then later recalled for failing to provide financial records. The new warrant will have the former Kentucky governor spend 60 days in jail at Louisville Metro Corrections and pay a $500 fine. It says that Matt, as the perpetrator of civil contempt, holds the keys to his own jail cell, Johnson added, by consistently refusing to comply with orders that he produce documents after having multiple chances. I mean, it's a bizarre case.
Yeah, does it, lawyer questions again, does it say 60 days and 500 or 60 or 500?
And
so now let's explain a bench warrant. A bench warrant, from what I know, once the judge issues the warrant, they issue it right from that hearing, right?
That's correct.
Tell clerk A issue. So if he's pulled over for running a stop sign, something that's
be arrested.
He'll be arrested,
regardless of where he is. Now, if he is in New Hampshire, or is that where the family business was New Hampshire?
I do not recall. But what if he's in Missouri, let's say?
Yeah, if he's there, they can arrest him if they become aware of it and determine whether they'll extradite him. A lot of times they won't. Local folks don't care about stuff like that, but it's entirely possible.
I remember when I was at sheriff's office, we ran across one in Louisiana, one in Florida, and they extradited both of them here back to Franklin County. I don't remember what their charges were, but I'd say they were substantial.
But I will tell you, this is a civil contempt. So in many cases, a local sheriff, even if it's in Kentucky, they don't want to arrest the individual because it's a civil contempt. But if it's a criminal offense, they'll absolutely go after him.
So
it's just
failure to appear. Which ones is a failure to appear warrant? When you appearing before a speeding ticket, they'll issue a warrant for you.
Yeah.
This one is something different then, because
this is different. This isn't a civil matter. So he's at this point he is held in contempt before the court. So being held in contempt before the court, it's a civil contempt at this point. And so that's why he can.
So he probably won't be arrested then. You think?
They're very likely not going to send anybody to his house. Although, again, if he's up in the Northeast right now, it's entirely possible that he remains up there and nothing will ever happen. He just can't come to Kentucky. Now, the problem with that is that he has been ordered multiple times in the last few weeks to appear in person in Jefferson Circuit Family Court, and he has refused to do that. Right. He keeps showing up on Zoom, and if there's one thing that you can do to thumb your nose at a judge, that is if a judge tells you to be there, to not appear. And sometimes showing up on Zoom is actually worse because it's even more thumbing your nose because you've made yourself available for that time frame, but you're not willing to show up in person, which is entirely
I just looked up his net worth, so traveling's not a problem. It's up. It says up to $60 million.
Yeah, and
so traveling from New Jersey or England is not a problem for somebody with $60 million.
I just can't believe that he and his attorneys allowed it to get this far. It makes absolutely no sense. I get that you want to play the game and you don't, sometimes people don't want to pay ex-wives and ex-husbands and,
But this is a 21-year-old adult child.
This is a 21-year-old adult, but at the same time, if you're ordered to provide the documents, then you got to provide the documents. And again, we don't know the details of why the court is even entertaining this, but clearly they are. I assume that there will be an emergency motion made in the Court of Appeal.
One more lawyer question.
Yep.
What if it was you or me versus former Governor Bevin?
knocking on my door the minute that it gets entered into e-warrants.
That's what I thought. Yeah, as soon as it hit e-warrants, they're coming to our house, right?
100%. 100%. I mean,
and you think it's more than likely that the governor knows this judge too?
I don't know that for a fact.
There's a lot of judges in Louisville for sure.
There are a lot of judges throughout Kentucky, but it's entirely possible that this is just one of those judges that she just doesn't care anymore. And so I think that, again, I don't know how you go a year into a case and you're still thumbing your nose at the judge.
Yeah, this is get your tax returns that you got from last year and turn it in, right? It's that simple.
Yeah,
I've got my tax returns in a 2-drawer file cabinet right behind me.
And a lot of times they'll go, we need to see the last 5 years. We need to see if there's any, formal investment documents involving this kid. All things that you can get. I mean, these are not things that you have to go make. These are records that are out there. So
that you've got in your possession every year, right? I still don't understand a 21-year-old adult asking his parents. This is like a Hollywood actor's children that have been spoiled their whole life. 21-year-old said, "Daddy, give me some money." I don't understand that.
Well, and again, even if you were against it, figure something out so that you could end this case. There comes a point where you don't want to do it, but now you have a 60-day jail sentence hanging over your head.
And maybe Bevy's just stubborn and said, "I'm not going to give him a nickel."
Well, I think that's a gift. I think we know that former Governor Matt Bevin is stubborn. I mean, we saw that when he was in office, but unfortunately, I think we've gotten to the point now that it's a little bit different. So obviously, we will keep you guys posted. If he is arrested, I'm sure it'll be breaking news. We'll try to bring that information to you on our socials, if not live.
We break into it live 10-minute thing, right?
Yeah. And in fact, if it comes across right now, we'll let you know as well. Getting into our first story tonight, the U.S. economy surprisingly added 172,000 non-farm payroll jobs, and it is a big story. We'll get right into it.
Inflation. These inflation supply shock numbers will not get the Fed to surprise the market. And the data is out. The May jobs report. 172,000. Is there any doubt that this anecdotal evidence about a good labor market has been very correct? That is a really strong number. And last month, we had a revision from 115,000 to 179,000, which means the 2-month revision has got to be over 90,000. That is a good number. Even manufacturing posted a 7,000 job gain. So how strong is 172,000? That would be the best number since 185,000 in March. These are solid numbers. If we look at what's going on with average hourly earnings come in at 0.3 as expected. If we look at average hourly earnings year over year, 3.4 as expected. And I would like to point out that on the month over month, 0.3 is a tenth higher than the 0.2 in the rearview mirror. But the 3.4 year over year is 0.2 light. 0.2 light. 3.4 would equal where we were in March. We started the year at 3.7. Okay. Now, if we look at the work week, and the work week, of course, has been getting a bit smaller. The average work week's coming in at 34.3 as expected. The unemployment rate, drum roll, please, 4.3. Well, we didn't really need the drum roll. Right. That is a very, very nice, historically low rate, and it's pretty steady there as well.
The numbers there, Craig, are pretty important to understand. Yep. 172,000 new jobs this month is about 60,000 more than they anticipated. They thought it would be about 110 to 112,000. Right. It seems like every month they're anticipating, 89 or 100, and even the one tick mark that it did drop below 100,000. It was revised up to about 150,000. So the economy this year, everybody was freaking out back in last April, and year over year, these tariffs, the economy, it's all going down. You saw the Dow today. You've seen the Dow over the last couple of weeks, well over
record after record. Record after record.
172,000, 0.3 increase on wages, which if year over year, if you get to that 2.4, 2.5, then you're matching what inflation is right now, which is what you need to keep pace. And that's exactly what it's doing. Now, hear what I'm saying, though. The inflation on some goods has gone up. We know gas, and we've talked about that a ton, and we know that groceries and things like that. However, it appears that some of those prices are going down, and everything else is wages and things of that nature are going up. And the big thing that you have to understand is we are basically at full employment right here.
Right, 4% is full employment for the United States and for Kentucky, and for Franklin County, actually. And gasoline today, I'll just real quick.
Yeah,
gasoline today, it's now down 82 cents a gallon from 2 weeks ago. That's $16 every time you fill a 20-gallon tank up, a little over $16. So that should help bring the prices of stuff down too. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I will tell you that hiring was sluggish throughout 2025 as employers eased off post-pandemic frenzies and hiring people and worried about new tariffs and the Iran war. The U.S. has added 304,000 jobs total in 2026 through April. You add this onto it, you're almost at 500,000 new jobs. Before today's report, the Fed cut interest rates 3 times in the second half of 2025 amid those concerns. The revision story is equally important. April was revised up from 115 to 179. March was revised up to 214,000, the first month above 200,000 since early 2024. And the economy has been stronger than the data was telling us in real time. Where the jobs are at this point, leisure and hospitality, they gained more than 70,000, dwarfing the 14,000 monthly average of the prior year, which is huge. Obviously, we're going into the summer. People are traveling. That makes a big deal. But for guys like you, Greg, who own a restaurant, that is a teller of things as well, that people are hiring. Here in Frankfort and Central Kentucky, lots of new developments and things. We'll talk about those here. We'll talk about those in a second.
And remind me to talk about building permits across Kentucky too.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that. Local government, more than 55,000 municipalities outside education drove that jump, obviously. Healthcare, 35,200. Ambulatory healthcare services had 25,700. Social assistance had more than 12,000, mainly individuals and family services workers. Manufacturing, this is big. They had more than 7,000 new manufacturing jobs. That is way bigger than the estimate of just 2,000. I know it only sounds like 5,000, but when you're talking about manufacturing jobs, anytime you're adding positive numbers, it's a good thing in the United States.
And they're probably $75,000 and $80,000 a year jobs too.
Yeah, absolutely. And financial activities, about 22,000 people. The wage picture, the good news is there with a catch. The average hourly wages were up 0.3% month over month. 3.4% year over year, consistent with the Fed's 2% inflation target, which is fantastic. Labor force participation is now at 61.8%, which is unchanged from the year before, or the month before.
Near a record an all-time record high.
I mean, that's unbelievably high.
That's more relevant than the unemployment numbers.
It really is. If everybody talks about the unemployment rate, but that job participation rate is huge. And then long-term unemployment rate is the jobless. That means you're jobless for 27 plus weeks is 2 million, which is up from 524,000 this year. It's 27.5% of all unemployed or long-term unemployed. So those people eventually get moved off that.
You talking about unemployment numbers?
Numbers, yeah.
Let's hit that for just 1 second.
Yep.
When they did calculate unemployment numbers, it's people that are actively looking for a job.
Correct.
If you give up looking for a job for 2 or 3 weeks, then you're not even counted plus or minus in the roll. It's like you don't exist. That's why the job participation rate, which you can find on many federal government websites, that's the real number.
Yep. Acting Labor Secretary Keith Sonderling, the official DOL statement came out, quote, President Trump and this administration once again produced the best month of job creation since taking office, demolishing economists' expectations. The May job report overperformed and outperformed on every level, adding 172,000 jobs and marking the third consecutive month of positive payroll growth. Thanks to President Trump, manufacturing jobs are up 25,000 jobs in 2026, and construction jobs have increased by 71,000 since he took over. So if there's people, in getting, you still with me there, Craig?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. If you have an increase of construction jobs, that means things are building, and over 903,000 private sector jobs have been added as well. The stock market didn't do great today. It was a little negative after the strong report, but that,
As it always is.
as it always is, there's always some nerves. Then you have the Iran war shadow. It's now in its 100th day today. Remains the single biggest wild card. Iran shut down the Strait of Hormuz in late February, early March, halting 20% of the world's crude oil demand. Economists note that tailwinds from fiscal and monetary policy, the AI boom, and the unwind of last year's policy uncertainty are outweighing headwinds from the Iran war for now. Even if the Iran war ended today, the inflationary effects of the oil supply disruption would be felt for at least a couple more quarters. The headline economists are quoting today that Navy Federal Credit Union chief economist Heather Long said the hiring recession is over. American firms are hiring again. This is encouraging news for job seekers and for the U.S. economy. The labor market has stabilized and is showing early signs of a genuine rebound. Craig, when you hear that economists were expecting 80,000 to 85,000 jobs and we got 172, more than double, what's your gut reaction to that kind of miss from the experts again?
It's consistently underestimate over the last 6 or 7 months. And there's one number you didn't mention in there. You didn't mention government jobs. Trump administration has cut 100,000 or more federal government jobs. Everything seems to be rolling along good. So 6 and 7 months ago, when the job creation numbers were 10,000 or 12,000, whatever it was, it's because they got rid of so many federal government jobs, and the jobs created offset them only by 10 or 12,000. So now they've cleaned out a lot of the chaff in the federal government, even though he just made 60,000 more jobs potential to be removed.
Yeah.
These numbers are even better than what you think, because most of pre-coronavirus, during coronavirus, most of these big, when you see 400,000 jobs created, 275,000 of them are government jobs, whether local, state, and mostly federal, because the federal government has ballooned to millions of employees. And there was no need for it, obviously, because they've eliminated. So this is a great jobs report.
It is.
And it will be revised, whether up or down.
Correct.
But since March, it's been revised up, a third.
Yeah.
So we could see this month actually go over 200,000.
The tension with this is that there are good job numbers, but good job numbers mean the Fed is going to stay on hold. They're not going to lower the interest rate at this point. Rates aren't going to come down. For anybody with a mortgage, a car payment, a business loan, that does matter. A great jobs report is genuinely good news. For a lot of people who don't know, as jobs go up, that means that your interest rate isn't going to get any lower. I mean, they are tied to each other.
There's good stuff too.
Yeah,
everybody always points out what you just said, but for the savers, people that got money in CDs,
mutual funds,
mutual fund, other investment vehicles, they still stay at that high interest earning rate. You'll get instead of having a CD like we did in the previous administration would be like 0.15%. You're having 4 and 5% CDs, and that's a massive amount of dollars coming in on your savings if you just got them in just simple CDs. It's thousands of dollars a month that are coming in that offset your regular spending.
Correct.
We'll get Gary Stratton on here. We'll have an inflation and a investment IR to explain all this stuff. It's interesting as can be.
Yeah, take us to school. Speaking of restaurant and hospitality, you have some new information for us about new restaurants that have been confirmed coming into Central Kentucky. And I know that a lot of people watch us just to kind of hear what the hubbub is, and then they can talk about it with everybody else. So tell us what those, I think there's three new restaurants.
Yeah. The people have been questioning whether or not, we've heard of Long John Silver's was coming in. It was originally coming into the paddocks of Frankfort, but they backed out of that, and now they're locating at the 5-star on US 6. I've confirmed this again this morning. They're coming in at the 5-star on US 60 in front of that new hotel
One they just tore, one they're tearing down right now.
The one they're tearing down, I think it's Spring Hill Hotel, something like that. But that's where the Long John Silver's is going to go. Now, when I asked you to remind me about the permitting stuff, there's so much building going on in Kentucky that state government that reviews these plans, electrical, water, plumbing, all that stuff, they're 5 and 6 months behind schedule because our economy is going so fast. People, entrepreneurs, are opening businesses so fast that state government can't keep up with them. So so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it sounds like the executive branch then needs to
hire more people.
Yeah, hire some more people.
And you don't want to slow down entrepreneurs because they'll just go to another state.
They will. And the other aspect of that is a lot of times when you have things like this, it's tied to financial institutions and their time frames. And if you start messing with those time frames, they lose the opportunity because those banks then will then take that money and give it to other individuals as well.
Other people, yeah. And the other two restaurants are two that people have been wanting on the west side of Franklin County. Texas Roadhouse is confirmed to be building in the paddocks, as is Zaxby's. So we'll have two Zaxby's in Franklin County, one on the east side and a brand new one on the west side in the paddocks of Frankfurt Shopping Center. So we're starting to get some more. This will, I think, be our third steakhouse behind Longhorns and Cattleman's.
Yep.
And so this will add more revenue, higher paying jobs, because steaks are not cheap right now for sure.
They sure are not.
Yeah. And so this will be a good add to the economy. It'll be a good add to the selection of restaurants where it's not another Mexican restaurant. And I think people will enjoy these. And there'll be more to come, but these are the ones that Apex Media can officially report as confirmed. There are others in the pipeline, but we are asked not to tell those, so we're not.
We won't until we get the okay to do it.
We want to be we don't leak stuff out.
No.
We don't do stuff just for clicks. We just deal with facts above the noise. So when we're allowed to release this data, then we release the data.
We will absolutely let you guys know.
We can be trusted.
Those job numbers are genuinely good news, and we want to be honest with you about that. But here is the reality of that. No economic report exists in a vacuum. We've been in this conflict with Iran since February 28th, and this morning there are major developments regarding that war right now. The Iranian foreign minister is drawing a new red line. President Trump is making a stunning claim about buried nuclear material, and the path to peace looks a little bit murkier than ever, even after last week. This is a story that demands everyone's full attention, and so we'll get right into it. Today's bombshell is Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. I'll mess that up. Araghchi, Lebanese TV station Al Mayadeen, quote, "This war will end only when it ends in Lebanon as well." We don't know how much of that was pandering.
Which is new. New.
Yeah, the end of the war on Lebanon must be accompanied by withdrawal of Israel forces from the territory they have occupied. Mohsen Rezai, advisor to Iran's supreme leader, said, quote, "Today we again warn the sinister regime to leave Lebanon." I feel like we need like... Every time you say the sinister regime, I feel like you have to have like a theme song to walk in.
That's better than call it a Hitlerian regime.
Yeah. We do that at home.
Yeah.
They should know that Lebanon will be an inseparable part of any agreement and any ceasefire. Translation for Iran: Iran is formally tying the end of the war with the U.S. to a completely separate conflict. Israel's campaign against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel has made it clear it will not withdraw from Lebanon. That is not how things work. Not just in reality, but in how you can logistically make that happen. Hezbollah has rejected the latest U.S. brokered Lebanon-Israel ceasefire deal.
Did you say Hezbollah?
Hezbollah has rejected.
When we start negotiating with them?
Well, we don't, but
exactly.
we're trying to negotiate with Lebanon, but Hezbollah is in the way. Calling it absurd, humiliating, and insulting. The deal would have allowed Israel to remain in southern Lebanon's buffer zone. Hezbollah was not party to negotiations because they're a terrorist organization.
And we're not fighting them.
Yeah.
The U.S. is not fighting Hezbollah. Israel is.
Right.
Not the U.S.
Araghchi warned that any Israeli strike on Beirut would trigger full-scale resumption of the U.S.-Iran conflict, an extraordinary threat that pulls the entire ceasefire at risk. At the same time, President Trump in the Oval Office Thursday said we attacked their nuclear sites and they were obliterated. It turned out that CNN was wrong. Then he said something to Caitlin Collins, and it became a whole thing. They said, well, maybe they weren't hit that hard. They were hit so hard. Nobody knows if you could even get it out. And then he said the only ones that have the capability of getting it out are us and China. We're the only ones with that kind of equipment that's powerful enough to go down that deep into a mountain. But that mountain crushed it.
Yeah, a granite mountain, 300 foot down in the ground.
Yeah.
So it ain't regular digging it out with a backhoe.
What we actually know at this point is Iran had nearly 1,000 pounds of uranium enriched to 60%, enough for 10 nuclear weapons per international inspectors.
Which going from 60% to 90%, which is weapons grade, only takes 2 weeks.
Right. Nuclear experts, Iran could enrich the weapons grade purity within weeks or even days, depending upon the capabilities they had with an operational facility. Pentagon intelligence assessments found Operation Midnight Hammer only set Iran's program back a few months. Iran reportedly moved most of its enriched uranium before the attacks. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi confirmed roughly half of Iran's HEU was stored in Esfahan tunnels. An Israeli official told the New York Times some uranium at Fordo and Natanz survived and may still be accessible, but nearly impossible to retrieve without detection by U.S. or Israeli satellites.
I'm sure we got a satellite parked right over top of that.
Right over top of it. Thank you, Elon Musk. But just last week at a cabinet meeting, and this is where things got a little weird when he was talking about China, Trump said he would not be comfortable with Iran transferring enriched uranium to Russia or China. He posted on Truth Social that the uranium would be destroyed either in the U.S., in Iran itself, or at another acceptable location. But today he says China may be one of the other nations with the equipment to retrieve it. Those two positions seem to not reconcile, although it's typical President Trump. I think he was just saying that China and the U.S. are the only ones who have the equipment to be able to do it. He wasn't necessarily saying that they were going to be allowed.
Right. Well, and 3 weeks ago when Trump said China wasn't going to get it was before he met with Xi Jinping.
Right.
And they might have worked a deal out to where, hey, we'll free up the Strait of Hormuz so you can start getting oil again if you help us on this uranium dust.
Trump also pointed to Iran resuming nuclear activities at a new deeper site, likely the Pickaxe Mountain facility near Natanz, under construction and buried up to 100 meters below a mountain of granite. As you were saying, the U.S. and Israel did not target it in June 2025 because it was not yet nearing completion. Why they didn't just blow up what they already had, it may be out of reach of conventional bunker busters at this point. The House passed a resolution to limit Trump's war powers in Iran this week. A significant rebuke. It doesn't mean anything. It's all everybody's just.
What do you call it, Kyle? It's just a resolution.
Yeah, it's a resolution.
We're going to vote on a resolution. The sky's blue. That's
right.
all it means.
Yeah, it's mostly symbolic. The bill goes to the Senate, where a similar measure has advanced with support from a handful of Republicans. Even if it passes, it doesn't really limit the ability.
It doesn't stop anything.
The Pentagon, State Department, and USAID inspectors general launched a joint review of the U.S. war mandated by laws for overseas military operations exceeding 60 days. A separate resolution by one of our favorites, Rashida Tlaib, to remove all U.S. troops from Lebanon within 7 days was blocked, 324 to 92, with 117 Democrats voting against it. Something tells me that wasn't expected. Trump Thursday said Hezbollah called us and they said, how about stopping? I think progress is made. He also said negotiations had grown very boring and expressed openness to meeting Iran's new supreme leader. Iran Wednesday said no tangible progress has been made in negotiations for the war. And Trump on the troops said, if they kill U.S. troops, I think I would restart fighting very quickly.
Yeah, better watch out if they hurt one guy, one soldier.
Craig, Iran's foreign minister is now tying the ending and the completion of this war to a completely separate conflict, Lebanon. Israel has made it clear it's not going to withdraw. What does that actually mean for a path to peace and to ending this war?
Iran doesn't want it. They want to wait out Trump's presidency, and they keep moving the goalposts and bringing in Lebanon after they're bombing. I tried to grab video real quick, but it was just too much going on at the house of Lebanon launching mortars and rockets from residential apartment buildings, from cloth tents, from parking garages, nearby schools and hospitals, because they know if Israel goes back and take out the location, the collateral damage will be a school, a hospital, a nursery, something like that. So they just keep moving the goalposts on that. They know they're losing their country. They're trying to hurt Israel, and Israel is not. Israel fights wars to win.
Yeah.
We don't fight wars to win. We fight wars for newspaper headlines. Yeah, we hide them for newspaper headlines. And whoever's in power, the other side always goes against them, like we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, Israel's not stopping, so they can forget that Lebanon thing, which means Iran doesn't want to, they don't want to come to a peace deal because the IRGC does not want to come out of power.
Right, because they know that's the ultimate.
Right, and that only leaves one thing. And if they don't want us getting the uranium, there's nothing saying we can't go over and drop 1,000 more of those bombs.
Yeah, 100%.
Take out every bridge in Iran, every utility facility. We could decimate Iran in probably a week.
Well, and that I'm gonna throw this out there as an average American. I think we're growing tired of this idea that we can negotiate with crazy people, and right. I'm with you a lot of times. I'm tired. Either pull out and count your loss, lick your wounds, or just end the dang thing.
Yeah.
Go in. Will people on the left be upset? Will there be people, in Congress that, claim all these? They're going to do that anyway. So just go in, finish the dang thing. Let's get to the point where we can rebuild that nation, put an entire new regime in there, new leadership, let the people be free. But let's quit pussyfooting around this. Let's just do it. And I think that's the thing that most Americans, even conservatives at this point, just have a problem with, because it's disrupting the rest of our lives as well at this point, because we can't deal with the issues like inflation because these things are continuing to go on, and we could end it.
And politically is what it's coming down to, as usual. It's all about power. Who can use, if Trump pulls out of the war and says, screw it, let Iran drop some nuclear bombs on Europe, because it came out already this morning, Iran is seeking permission from whoever within Iran, which means it'll happen. They want to build their first ICBMs that'll reach the United States. They can already reach every country in Europe with their current ballistic missiles, but it's not intercontinental. It can't cross the Atlantic.
Well,
and they want to start building those. And then if they put even a 2 megaton nuclear bomb on it, that's going to take out a city. And then what is the left going to do and say, hey, Trump, why didn't you finish it when you had the opportunity?
I don't know if you watched Scott Bessent's testimony the last 2 days, but
it's must-see TV.
One of the Democrats that was questioning him said, you don't honestly believe that everything in Iran is over, do you? And Bessent's like, well, do you? Are you agreeing that we need to go ahead and finish this?
Yeah, he's the Treasury Secretary too. He's not the Secretary of War. He's the Treasury Secretary.
Yeah, it's bizarre, and damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario for the military and for the president and
because it's all about power. Explain how they've called Trump a Nazi since 2015,
but he's protecting it.
Do what?
But he's protecting Israel.
Yeah, exactly. But now we truly got a Nazi. He's had a Nazi SS tattoo. That's not just your regular soldier Nazi. That's the SS that took care of, that eliminated 6 million Jews in those different camps.
Yep.
These are real Nazis, not the show, that they made every kid become a Nazi out of school. So now all of a sudden they hated Nazis when they were calling Trump a Nazi, like you said, even though he's protecting Israel. This guy has a Nazi tattoo over his right breast for 18 years, and he didn't remove it. He just covered it. So it's still there. So they're supporting him. Yeah. Chuck Schumer, Senator, Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, was asked again this morning, and he said, yes, we are going to beat Senator Collins, who is really a Democrat, and we're going to take back control of the Senate. They don't care how they get it. They don't care if they support Platner or Texas 35, the woman that wanted to castrate all these different people and lock up the ICE officers forever.
She lost. So.
Yeah, she lost, but they still supported her.
Yeah,
they don't care who they support, long as Hakeem Timu Obama can be Speaker of the House and Chuck Schumer can be President of the Senate.
Well, we will go ahead and get into that story, but it's interesting.
I didn't know it was on here. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that is Sonny Hostin at The View, which is just a joke at this point.
Yeah.
Who rails against Republicans and
Nazis and fascism.
She's railed against Pete Hegseth. She's called him every name in the book. She talked about Matt Gaetz. She talked about President Trump. And she had the gall yesterday to say, I'll just hold my nose and vote for Platner instead of Susan. Right. You got to be joking me with that. That is ridiculous. When you're saying that all you care about is the protection of women and you care about people who aren't going to be Nazis and not going to be fascists, but you're going to hold your nose to vote for Graham Platner, you have lost all credibility with that kind of
and it's a show and a power, but she went after Hegseth because he has the Jerusalem cross on his breast, which symbolizes, and Kyle, I'm sure you know this because you're a history buff, but when the Crusades occurred in 1000 to 1200 AD, that was because back then the Muslim world was trying to take over all the Christianity, except this time England fought back with other countries, and that's where this cross came from. And that's what Pete Hegseth has on his chest. They railed on it forever, for months. Now, this guy's got a Nazi tattoo on his body.
Yeah.
And they're still supporting this guy.
Let's talk a little bit about this guy. Graham Platner is a Marine veteran and oyster farmer running to unseat Senator Susan Collins, Republican of Maine, one of the nation's most closely watched Senate races. Maine is a crucial state for Democrats in their uphill battle to capture the Senate majority. They need to flip at least 4 seats. That ain't happening. I can just tell you right now.
Right, yeah.
Maine is among the most competitive. Platner has the backing of Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. But here's the full scandal in a timeline, okay? Yeah. Chapter 1, we'll just do them by chapters. Chapter 1 were the Reddit posts. A trove of old Reddit posts surfaced from more than a decade ago, including a 2013 deleted post suggesting people concerned about sexual assault against women should not, quote, get so effed up they wind up having relations with someone they don't mean to. He then went on to say separate posts mocked a wounded soldier injured in a Taliban ambush in 2012, writing the soldier didn't deserve to live. Additional posts used homophobic slurs and called white rural Americans racist and stupid. And Platner cited undiagnosed PTSD and a dark period after combat deployments, calling the post indefensible. Then you have chapter 2, which is one of the things you mentioned, is the Nazi tattoo. Platner had a tattoo on his chest resembling a Nazi death's head, skull, and crossbones emblem for nearly 20 years. He said he was appalled when he learned what it resembled, which is interesting because we'll get to that in a second. Yeah. And it had altered into a Celtic knot. His campaign manager quit after just 4 days amid the tattoo scandal. Platner insisted he did not know for nearly 2 decades. Now, a claim that is widely questioned, even on The View. Chapter 3, the Wall Street Journal reported that Platner's wife, Amy Gertner, disclosed to a campaign aide in 2025 that there were sexually explicit text messages to other women on his phone. Sexting was between 6 and 12 different women, reportedly ended before the campaign began. And in April 2026, months before the sexting revelation, Platner told supporters all damaging information had already come out and that there was, quote, no big dark secret left to conceal. And apparently that was not true, because breaking yesterday afternoon, The New York Times published a major new report Thursday detailing physical and emotionally threatening behavior by Platner towards multiple women over the last few years that he has dated. Lindsay Fiffield said Platner regularly grabbed her by the shoulders hard enough to leave marks, yanked her out of a cab by the wrist after an argument, and in one incident, twisted her arm behind her back and held her in a room. Fiffield said he never hit or punched her, but the incidents left her shaken and afraid. She also said she expressed views that sexually assaulting women was about holding power over someone. That he expressed those. Jenny Rassicote dated Platner in 2019 and 2021, described herself as a Maine Democrat. Platner came to her house drunk in 2021 after she'd asked him not to come over, called his behavior reckless and unsettling. And then three other former partners total described a toxic relationship involving heavy drinking, demeaning behavior, and in one case, physical intimidation. On MSNBC's All In with Chris Hayes, Platner's response was, there are some allegations in this piece that I just want to be kind of unequivocal about are simply not true. Anything alleging physicality, anything alleging that I knew what my tattoo was, these are the statements of someone who was politically motivated. He directed that at Fiffield, citing her Republican political background. Written statement to the AP, he said, throughout this campaign, I've been open about what was a very dark period of my life where I struggled with undiagnosed PTSD, too often self-medicated with alcohol, and was far from perfect boyfriend. I take responsibility for all that and wish I had been better. Platner confirmed he is not dropping out. The June primary is now 4 days away. It'll be held on June 9th, next Tuesday.
Yep.
Democrat Party reaction. This is one of my favorite, and I think you'll agree. Senator John Fetterman said, I think what's time is for Maine voters to take a look at the sitting governor, an honorable woman, and that is a committed Democrat that's already won statewide, suggesting voters shift to Governor Mills. Former Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoney on X post said, I can't help but think that if this candidate were a person of color or a woman, my party would be asking them to consider stepping aside immediately. A Nazi tattoo. Now this, I want Democrats to take back.
Start saying SS tattoo, because that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a death squad tattoo.
Yeah.
I want Democrats to take back the Senate, but not like this. The Biden and Harris campaign veteran Rhonda Elaine Fox said she called it horrific that he left his wife to address the sexting. Asking her to do this is trash. Senator Bernie Sanders, still standing by Platner when asked if he feared more revelations, says, I don't know. At least 2 Senate Democrats have expressed concern about Platner's candidacy. And the wild card is Governor Janet Mills, who suspended her campaign in April, citing low funds, but her name remains on the June 9th primary ballot. Following this week's report, she reminded Maine voters in a last-minute appeal that she is still on the ballot. A source close to Mills said, in the wake of this week's stories, people across Maine are reaching out to her to tell her they're voting for her and encouraging her to get fully back into the race. Even if Platner wins Tuesday's primary, Maine law gives the party until July 13th to pressure him out and name a replacement.
Yeah, the party itself, not the voters.
Yeah,
the party itself.
Now, Craig, the Democrats have never done that before.
Yeah, but that would take the power of the vote.
Like Kamala Harris.
That'd be a horrible thing.
Yeah.
To take what the voters did and just say, us 12 people in this smoky, dark-filled back room, are going to decide who's going to be your candidate for the U.S. Senate.
Yeah. It's interesting. He was apparently in Washington for meetings with Senate Democrats,
including
and they apparently said they didn't believe the things that he was saying now, which one of the comments that was made on one of the shows I was watching this morning is, senators don't mind lying to you, but they don't want you lying to them. Right. And now they feel like they're being lied to. And then the New York Times story dropped while that was happening, and they whisked him away as he was leaving that meeting. And now we're getting reports from individuals who said that the New York Times article glossed over some of the things that they said, and they're now releasing their own stories about this, about how truly awful of a person he was while they were dating. Craig, I don't know what you do in a situation like this if you've backed yourself into a corner that you have to support this guy. But as of last night, the latest polling was that Susan Collins is only 3 percentage points outside of the lead in this. She's
for
within
the general election.
Yeah, in the general election.
Yeah.
She's in the margin of error. And she was, if you'll remember, 6 years ago, she was down 11 points in the polls and won. I don't think this is good for Democrats at this point.
Well, since we're just coming up on the primary, let's see. Somebody complimenting our pizza. Graham Platner is up. He's plus 66 in the latest survey from the University of New Hampshire Survey Center. He's at 76% chance. Janet Mills is at 10. And this is coming from the Decision Desk HQ. I'm thinking about going into the pro part of this thing because it's got so much cool data. But he's going to win. Janet Mills, it's just too late coming in. When he went to D.C., like you noted a minute ago, he met with Chuck Schumer. Schumer came out to the podium and said, yes, I'm supporting Graham Platner. I don't think we're going to beat Collins.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they want to beat Collins, because every big vote that comes up, she votes against Republicans. Her and Murkowski in Alaska always vote with the Democrats. Yeah. I don't know why they'd want to defeat her. Doesn't make any sense.
This is going to be interesting. Tuesday, obviously, they wrap up a lot earlier than California has. California is now, I think they've about 60% of the vote in
3 days.
In Los Angeles have been counted. I mean, can you imagine if Louisville said we need 4 weeks? Now
60%, and they've still got votes that can come in mysteriously.
Oh, yeah. Until next week.
I questioned somebody that's been on my page about why is it always that Democrats, why is it Republicans vote early and Democrats wait till the last minute to turn their mail-in ballot in, and then they got 7 days after that for it to arrive, and then it's going to take them they got 10 or 17 days to count them.
Well, there are a lot of cemeteries that you have to go to get votes after that time to figure out.
It makes no sense. There's a video out there where this one Californian, whether it's true or not, I don't know on this one, no way to fact check it, but he got 5 mail-in ballots at his house, and he said 4 other people don't live there.
4 other people don't live there. Benny Johnson released a video today that had 26 people registered at a public toilet on a corner.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's another one. They're registering to vote, and the address is a public toilet.
Yeah.
Now, what's a public toilet doing with an address in the first place?
Yeah, well.
But if there's not some shenanigans going on, that's what I've asked this person. I said, why is it? It's not logical to Republicans vote early and Democrats wait till the last day on election day itself.
Yeah.
They got until, in California, I think 9 p.m. California time to vote. They haven't made their mind up, or they got 29 days plus election day. Yeah. So they've got 30 days to cast their vote, and they procrastinate to the last minute. Do you really believe that? That hundreds of thousands of people wait till the last minute to put in a ballot that was mailed to them months before?
Yeah, absolutely.
You really believe that?
Yeah. We have been talking about a candidate facing serious allegations and questions about his character and judgment. Now we're going to shift to a story that is almost the exact opposite in terms of how the public is responding. This one is also about character and about a father, a daughter, a predator, and a justice system that many people believe failed them all. It is a story coming out of Arkansas that has had people on both sides of the political aisle fired up for nearly 2 years. Aaron Spencer, a 37-year-old Army veteran and farmer from Lone Oak County, Arkansas, a county of roughly 76,000 residents, so larger than Franklin County, and roughly 76,000 residents that voted nearly 76% for Donald Trump in 2024. Before October 2024, most people in Arkansas had never heard of this guy. That changed on the night of October 8th. Spencer woke up in the middle of the night to find his teenage daughter missing from the family's home. He found her in the passenger seat of a vehicle being driven by Michael Fossler. Spencer forced Fossler's truck off the road, and after an altercation, shot and killed him. He then called 911 to report what he had done. Michael Fossler was 67 years old, was out on bond at the time while facing dozens of charges, including internet stalking of a child and sexual assault involving Spencer's own daughter, who was 13 years old at the time.
Yes.
Fossler was under a no-contact order with the girl at the time of his death. Spencer's attorneys do not deny he shot and killed Fossler. There's even video of it. They say he did so to protect his child. I think he had a dash cam. I think that was proven. Lonoke County Sheriff's deputies, the same office Spencer would later run against, arrested Aaron Spencer and charged him with second-degree murder. The public reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Petitions calling for charges to be dropped, more than 380,000 signatures of a town of only 72,000 on one petition alone.
Sounds like Democrat voters.
Yeah, national conversations ignited about a parent's legal limit in protecting their child. And prosecutors' argument, Spencer planned the killing and could have called police while pursuing Fossler. Spencer's argument is he acted to protect his child from a predator. And this is the twist that nobody saw coming. In an unexpected move, Spencer announced last fall that he was going to be running for Lonoke County Sheriff against the incumbent whose deputies had arrested him. Spencer, an Army veteran with zero law enforcement experience, defeated Sheriff John Staley, a Republican who had been in office for over 13 years, winning more than 53% of the vote in March 3rd, 2026 Republican primary. Spencer stated his reason is to fix a justice system that failed to protect his daughter. With a murder trial just weeks away, however, Spencer's attorneys filed a motion to dismiss all the charges, and the reason was stunning. A dash cam SD card from Fossler's truck collected at the scene of the shooting disappeared before it could be retrieved. Yeah, weird, right? Yeah. Lonoke County Sheriff's Detective Robbie McCain, who should never be a police officer again, removed the SD card from the dash cam at the scene. McCain watched some of the footage, deemed it, quote, unimportant, and stored it in an envelope in his personal desk, not the evidence room. When the camera was sent to Attorney General's office for forensic review, the SD card was missing. Employees reported never receiving it. An expert witness tested the same model dash cam and determined the type of video McCain claimed to have seen does not match how that camera model actually records. The detective later admitted, get this, he did not log the camera into evidence right away, a direct violation of Lonoke County Sheriff's Office procedures. Yesterday afternoon, Special Circuit Judge Ralph Wilson Jr. entered a 19-page order dismissing the case. The language was unambiguous. The judge found, quote, the loss or destruction of the internal SD memory card of the dash camera has adversely impaired the defendant's ability to defend himself pursuant to these defenses, and thus his right to a fair trial. Judge Wilson also found, quote, the court finds the conduct by law enforcement was so egregious that dismissal of this case is warranted. The dismissal covered all criminal charges against Spencer, not just the murder count. Judge Wilson was actually the second judge on this case. The Arkansas Supreme Court removed the original judge, Barbara Elmore, in January 2026 after finding she had issued an overly broad gag order that violated Spencer's First Amendment rights. In this case, the first judge was removed for violating Spencer's constitutional rights. The second judge dismissed the case because law enforcement violated his constitutional rights again. At every turn, the system that was supposed to convict Aaron Spencer exposed its own failures. Attorney Aaron Casanelli said no member of this family should ever again be forced to walk into a courtroom and relive this horror. This father should have never been charged for protecting his child. Craig, charges completely dismissed. It is very likely that Aaron Spencer, a man charged with killing an individual who was a predator towards his daughter, is now very likely, remember, a 67-year-old man, his 13-year-old daughter, this man, a hero in all rights, is now very likely in November going to be voted as the new sheriff in the town where he was charged with murder.
When you handle evidence, from my days back in the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, it's called chain of custody, from the deputy to the detective to the evidence room. Now, the evidence room has one individual, at least in our case, had one individual. His only job was handling evidence. Only he had a key. Yep. The sheriff didn't have a key. The chief deputy didn't have a key. And I didn't have a key as the director of administration, but I wouldn't want anyway because it's law enforcement. But nobody could get in there but him. Everything is tracked. Every time it changes from Deputy A to Deputy B to the detective to the evidence technician, a piece of paper was signed by all those involved to show the chain of custody so the court could see it. So this sheriff hid evidence trying to cover his own illegal, I don't know what the law term is, but his own illegality of hiding that chip into his card. Now, as a techie guy, also as a career techie guy, if you got a dash cam and you got internet in your car, not only have the dash cam go to the card, also have the dash cam go to the cloud.
Yeah.
That way, if somebody mishandles your recording card, your little chip about that big, it can be lost easily. I just lost one. I don't know where the hell it's at, but have it record to the cloud also, and then it doesn't matter if they hide it or not. You can pull it down from there.
Yeah.
So this is very, very bad. I'm glad this guy won. I'm glad he did what he did. It's no different. Somebody messes with my kids or my grandchildren, I'm going to jail. I will hunt that sucker down like a dog.
Well, I mean, and we'll say, vigilante justice is not always the best justice. But the irony here is,
I understand your lawyer thing,
yeah,
Todd.
yeah. I'm giving you all advice. Don't take the law into your own hands. Although it's very easy to say, I have 3 daughters. You mess with my kids, there's going to be trouble. The irony here is almost impossible to overstate, though. The office that arrested him, the office that mishandled the evidence, the detective who stored critical evidence in a personal desk drawer, that may be the office Aaron Spencer is about to win as sheriff in a county that voted 36% for Trump. He is the heavy favorite. I would say, I would, and look who we got here. We got one of the best in the business coming
There you go. I worked with that guy.
That's right.
We worked years together. So
that's right. That there is Jeff Farmer, one of the best police officers there is. We totally agree, Jeff. He should not have been charged. It's an absolute joke. And all of these folks need to be looking for new jobs because they are not going to be kept on. I can tell you that.
Yeah, all the deputies, he'll probably clean house. And
he's going to have to.
Yeah, he could. Maybe Jeff moved down there with his family and he becomes chief deputy. This guy.
Jeff just built that big new house. He doesn't want it.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to move. Right.
Right. So, we're going to close today's great story, but we're going to close today's show right here in Kentucky. This is one directly affects your wallet, specifically your electric bill. Yesterday on the show, we talked about SpaceX and the AI boom driving an unprecedented surge in electricity demand. Well, that surge has to be powered from somewhere, and right now, Kentucky is squarely in the crosshairs of some of the biggest technology companies on earth. A new report released this week puts serious pressure on Kentucky lawmakers to get this right before it's too late. The Kentucky Energy Planning and Inventory Commission, known as EPIC, great name by the way, released a major new policy analysis this week, warning that Kentucky is well positioned for a data center investment, but that existing electric customers could pay for costly infrastructure without clear rules up front. EPIC Executive Director Eric King held a press conference Thursday in Frankfurt alongside Republican Senate leaders. This is the first in a series of policy analyses EPIC plans to provide Kentucky lawmakers as the energy landscape changes. EPIC is a new state energy advisory body created by Republican lawmakers to provide independent advice on energy policy. Its executive committee includes Jeff Brock, an executive from Alliance Resource Partners, which is the coal company whose CEO is a Republican mega donor. You may know this name, Joe Kraft. And Wesley Kate, president of the Kentucky
UK.
Yeah, especially with the UK with that hat on. President of the Kentucky Oil and Gas Association. Investor-owned utilities and environmental groups opposed EPIC's creation, arguing it creates bureaucracy that discourages retirement of coal and gas plants. That is hilariously ironic that they would be upset about bureaucracy.
Yeah, really.
Go with it. Kentucky's advantage and why the tech giants are coming. They are coming, and we need to be prepared for it. We have some of the nation's lowest industrial electricity rates. You talked about that yesterday, Craig. Mm-hmm. We have absolutely an abundance of available land, especially in eastern Kentucky. We have abundant water resources, which is absolutely needed to cool the area.
There's only one state with more water than us, and that's Alaska.
And that's Alaska, right?
It's as big as 25% of the United States.
Expanding fiber infrastructure, which is they've been doing here in the state for the last 20 years. Regulatory system with a track record of supporting large economic development projects. And let me just give you the scale of what's coming. And these are truly staggering numbers, Craig. LG&E and KU, that's Louisville Gas and Electric and Kentucky Utilities, said that 29 potential data center projects in a pipeline as of March 26, 11 projects totaling 3.5 gigawatts at 50% or plus are a likelihood of moving forward. Total prospective demand discussed could reach 12 gigawatts. Eastern Kentucky Power Cooperative says that 11 active data center projects seeking more than 10 gigawatts of power. And for context, Kentucky Utilities' total peak generation in the summer of 2024, total peak, this is the highest it has been
on a 103-degree day,
was 18.4 gigawatts.
Right.
So we're talking about almost doubling that in our resources. Data center demand could approach the entire state's peak capacity on its own. High-profile example, a planned hyperscale campus in southwest Louisville, which was announced in 2025. LG&E secured 402 megawatts, a projected lifetime investment of $11 billion. The first 130 megawatts phased target for late 2026. But there are warnings on the horizon. Epic pointed to Virginia, the data center capital of the world, as a cautionary tale of what happens when a state doesn't get the rules right before the boom arrives. Virginia did not have adequate cost protection rules when its data center boom began. The result is the projected residential electric bill increased from $14 to $37 more a month by 2040. So you're looking at potentially close to $500 more a year in your energy costs. That's every household, every month for decades, because Virginia didn't act in time.
They jumped in the boom quickly.
They did. And if you don't have things prepared, then it doesn't benefit anyone. Kentucky currently has no law protecting ratepayers from footing the bill for data centers. This is the single most important sentence in the entire report that came out. There is no law. Kentucky lawmakers had a chance to fix the problem in the 2026 legislative session, and they didn't. Representative Josh Bray from Mount Vernon introduced House Bill 593, requiring data centers to pay for any electrical infrastructure upgrades needed and to pay for the power they use. It would have prevented the subsidization of data centers customers by non-data center customers through rates or by any other means. Passed the House 90-4, and yet the Senate killed it. And we'll have to ask Senator Stivers why that is.
Yeah.
The data center provisions were stripped from the bill on the final day of the 2026 legislative session. Representative Bray, on why it failed, said, quote, the Senate in general was the reason, and LG&E and KU didn't like it either. So Senator Robert Stivers then said, I talked to Josh Bray. I understand what he's doing. It's a coming issue, and so we need to make sure we do it the correct way.
A lot of states are now requiring these data centers to provide their own energy so that it doesn't, it's a good thing all the way around, because if they require them to create their own energy, then if there's tornadoes or a hurricane or something that wipes out other parts, they this is required in the laws. They shut down the data centers for a while, use all of their electricity generation they have there to put back on the local grid for X amount of days whenever it's needed till the other energy gets brought back online. So they pay for their own infrastructure, meaning they build for it. They create their own electricity. If they have extra electricity, they sell it back out on the grid, just like if you got solar panels on your roof, you can sell it back to your utility company. So that will eliminate that. But that's just coming out within a few states. Virginia screwed it up. Ohio's doing better because they're a data center capital state too. They've got I think over 100 data centers there. But the one thing it does bring in, it brings in a few super high paying jobs, $150,000, $250,000. But it brings in property taxes like you cannot imagine, like the one they killed in Oldham County.
Yep.
That would have been a $6 billion project was going to be property taxed at $50 million a year. That's more than the entire Oldham County budget.
Imagine what schools can do with an extra 50.
Right. Well, after 3 years, you'd run out of money what to spend it on, and then your citizens would no longer have to pay property taxes. I mean, think about it.
Communities are already pushing back. We know in Mason County and Maysville they're pushing back. But they have little legal recourse. I mean, there's no law that prevents people from coming in and purchasing the area. And
didn't that get approved?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is.
And,
People are, but the communities themselves are up in arms. I think one of the stories was that one of the stories is that family was offered $5 or $6 million for their farm, and
$20 million.
yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. $20 million, and they turned it down.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
That's generational money.
Not every hero wears a cape, I guess.
Yeah, and
just
they love seeing 300 acres of solar panels on farmland.
Yeah,
but they don't want to see 40 acres of farmland taken up to make a data center or a small modular nuclear reactor. It makes no sense at all.
Well, and I think now's the time that the legislature and the governor and everyone involved needs to look at the potential of utilizing nuclear, because it would solve the problem. Imagine Kentucky being the center of attention for AI, cloud computing, data centers, all these things. You're going to move California, all of the stuff that happens in the tech valleys up there, and you want to find a place that is you can develop your whole new city and rebuild the area. Why not figure out a way to marry these things?
Yeah, the reason Virginia, obviously most everybody knows this unless those geographically challenged. The reason Virginia is the data center capital of the country is because Washington, D.C. is there. The Pentagon's there. The Navy's there. Everything is there. That's why there's the data center boom in Virginia. Ohio has seen it. They've got Lake Erie water or whatever Great Lake is up there. They've got access to water. We've got the Mississippi. What's the river that goes on the makes the eastern outline of Kentucky?
Cumberland River.
No, it starts in Ohio. I can't think of it. And then we got the Tennessee River. We got lakes. We got more water than, like I said earlier, anybody flowing water than anybody except Alaska. Michigan's got, I think it's Michigan that's land of 10,000 lakes.
Minnesota.
We got more shoreline water than they do, even though they got it on their license plate. So people don't understand the resources we got. Data centers also in these states that are taking up these new laws, they're getting them to have their own water also. They're recycling, like having a giant pond, a multi 30, 40, 50 acre pond, and they're just recirculating the water through there. Yeah. So it's not using any city or county water. They're using their own water and they're recycling their water to keep everything cool. But in the end, I think China has got a data center in the bottom of the ocean to keep it cool because that water is so cold. And Elon's grand plan is to put them all up in outer space. But until we get there, they need to be away from people because they're loud as hell. They're louder than a darn jet engine. Yeah. But the money they would bring into a poor state would just be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it is a once-in-a-generation economic opportunity with data centers. That opportunity does come with a real risk, but the companies who profit most from Kentucky's cheap power end up not paying their fair share, and you, the working family in Frankfort or Louisville or Pikeville, end up making up the difference on your electric bill. The next legislative session has to address this. If they address it and it gets dealt with, it is a huge boom potentially for the Kentucky economy, but it has to be fixed.
And I know our state senator, Jay Williams, and others Kentucky is opening up to nuclear generation of power again. And people, I've been harping on these small modular reactors for years. And somebody once said, well, if you like them, move next to one. I said, hell, put one in my backyard. Yeah. I don't care. Because if I can get free electricity out for the rest of my life, put it in my backyard.
And the small
they cannot melt down.
Impossible.
They cannot with thorium salt. They cannot melt down, and they create 100% green energy. Yeah, and they use less resources than solar panels and windmills.
They need to just rename them. Just don't call them nuclear. Call them salt.
Well, they call them SMR, small modular reactors.
Yeah, that's what they need to call them because people hear nuclear and they lose their mind.
Right. Even though, if you do, we can do a show on that too. Even though you do research, 3 Mile Island, nobody died. No. Whatever that was, Fukushima, nobody died. The only nuclear disaster, the third one, was in Russia And you know how Russia builds stuff. Chernobyl.
It's not the best.
Chernobyl.
They don't
Yeah,
build.
they had a whole lot of deaths, hundreds and hundreds of deaths.
Yeah.
But it's Russia construction. You can't compare Russia building stuff to what the United States builds. And nuclear reactors today are 1,000,000 times safer than they were in the 1950s.
We do have a question here, Craig, and maybe you can answer for me. Gary says, "Tell me, why do I need a data center?"
If we don't get them, we fall behind to China. China becomes the leader of the world. We need them for our military. We need them. My thing is, we need them for medical. You can churn stuff through data centers that will take tens of thousands of years to create. You can run all kinds of new medicines through it, all kinds of tests on cancer, because I believe in 10 years, with all these data centers coming on, they'll find cures for just about every cancer.
Well, and cloud computing is important because every time you put something into the cloud, you don't want it stored in China. You don't want it stored in Russia or one of these other countries. AI computing is coming. It's already here.
It's here.
And we need to have, absolutely. And we need to have control over our own data. And that's the thing that we've done for a long time, that we haven't controlled that. And data centers, as computing power becomes more and more necessary for everything that we do, these data centers are going to be necessary. They're going to be built somewhere, right? They're either going to be built.
They are going to be built.
Yeah. So
and do you want America to control that, or do you want China? Because it is.
Do you want Arkansas to control it, or do you want Kentucky to control it? Because Arkansas is going to, or West Virginia, they're going to go somewhere.
Yeah, right? if you build the data centers away from people, if you want to get down to the hyper local level, let's say they built one out in some part of Franklin County. There's not houses out, or they do like an airport does when it expands. They buy the people out and give them enough money they can go build them a house anywhere they want in that state. Happens around the Cincinnati airport, Louisville airport, all the big airports in the country. They buy people out of their houses so they can expand the airport. And why do they need to expand? Because business has gone global. Right. But you go on the local level, if we had a data center that cost $6 billion to build in Franklin County, we wouldn't have to pay. We'd pay zero taxes. After 3 years, we would never have to pay another tax.
And
whether it's insurance,
if you don't have to pay state income or state real property tax, people would start to get behind it real quick. And the legislature is the ones who have to fix that. Right.
Yeah. And you don't need to give these people tax incentives. Is that what, if we could get data centers for no state income tax, everyone, yeah. If you don't have to give these guys state incentives, tax incentives like you do at Toyota or somebody, because they're making money like we breathe air. They're pulling in that much money, and they don't need no incentives. They want land. They'll pay top dollar for land to build a data center. They'll pay for their own energy. They'll supply their own water. We're crazy, absolutely crazy, not to welcome them in here. And this is from a guy that lives a quarter of a mile from a landfill.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know what in that landfill.
You'd much rather be across the street from one of those as opposed to, I know some other people.
Well, I'd want to be 2 miles away from a data center.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's not that far in the county.
On the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, you can do it.
Before we get out of here, anything you want to say, get back to?
No, just love doing this show. We talk about news that other people won't cover. We don't spin it on a political side either way. We just go straight facts. And that's what I like about this. It's not spin. It's not my opinion, your opinion. We can back up what we say. And that's what I like about it. Let's see, what's Jeff Farmer say right there? The biggest complaint I see from a lot of them is the constant noise. That's true, 100% true. They're not loud, very loud. They're extremely loud.
Yeah.
But they're loud as a jet engine when you're standing 50 feet from a darn jet engine. But just place them in areas where there's not people. I mean, you can't build them. You can't build them in the Southwest United States because it's just too hot and they don't have no water. Colorado River is just about dry as it is. But Kentucky, that gets 40 inches of rain a year plus 40 plus inches of rain a year. We've got all these rivers, all these lakes. We got all kinds of water. and it's just sitting there evaporating. We might as well put it to use and make some money off of it.
I will say, Jason Gilbert said small modular reactors. Another great mind in town, thinking alike with you, Craig. So,
thank you. Yeah, I've been on these SMRs. Canada's got some that are in operation. We're still dragging our feet, but they did license the first nuclear reactor in like 30 years yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time. It'll happen. It'll happen. Big show, big Friday in America, big Friday here in Kentucky. We want to make sure that everybody has a great weekend. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and like and share our podcast here. It's one of the fastest growing on YouTube and one of the fastest growing channels where we cover news, politics, and obviously Kentucky sports on a regular basis. If anything comes up, we'll obviously let you guys know and try to start finding us every day. And if today's show gave you something to think about, make sure you leave us a comment. It means everything to us as well. For my good friend, Craig Blanton, we've had a good week, Craig. A lot of stuff happened here.
A lot of news this week. A lot of
news. I think we'll have some over the weekend too. And if it does, we'll be the first ones to let you know. So until next time, we want to make sure you guys stay informed, stay sharp, stay above the noise. Y'all have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. See you, everybody.